Guys, Vegeta may be awakening his Super Saiyan 3 for the first time and thus canonizing this epic form, and it would be in a fight against the last two remaining Tamagamis, and I'll explain everything to you now. But first, leave your like and also subscribe to the channel, and let's get started. Guys, throughout the history of Dragon Ball, we've seen several transformations, and each one of them ended up appearing in epic moments where most of the time the enemies were very powerful and a greater power was needed to fight that enemy. But there were also critical moments when the characters became very angry, which made them release a greater power than normal, and in this case, a new transformation appeared. A great example of what I'm talking about are the Saiyans, who awaken most of their transformations through an explosion of anger. But among all these transformations, there is one that was little used, and only two characters got to use this transformation. I'm talking about Super Saiyan 3, which first appeared during the Buu saga, where Goku ended up showing the new level of power he achieved after his training in Lord Kaio's world. In a demonstration of his new power, he transformed into Super Saiyan 3, which was able to shake the entire planet Earth, showing the glaring difference between the power of Super Saiyan 2 and Super Saiyan 3. Now you must be wondering why I'm talking about Super Saiyan 3 so suddenly, right? The answer to that is quite simple, guys, and some of you may have already understood why I'm saying this. But for those who didn't understand, I'll explain. Many old things that have already appeared at some point in the canonical and even non-canonical history are being reused in the anime, and an example of this would be Broly, who ended up returning and officially became a canonical character that will be part of Dragon Ball Super. With that, we can say that certain things that are no longer used can be reused in Dragon Ball Super, and why wouldn't this apply to Dragon Ball Daima? The answer is quite simple. It does apply, and that's why we'll be able to see old transformations that are no longer used being used in Dragon Ball Daima. And I'm sure that Super Saiyan 3 will appear, since it's the most powerful transformation that exists at the moment. Now let's talk a little about episode 7, and it was in this episode that Goku's companions finally ended up arriving in the third demon world, and the new character called Hybis was responsible for bringing them to the demon world. And he only did this because he received orders from King Kadan, the king of the third demon world and also Panzi's father. In the final minutes of this episode, Hybis received the order to take Goku's friends to where he is, which in this case is in the city where Tamagami is protecting one of the Dragon Balls of the demon world, this being Tamagami number 3, who protects the third Dragon Ball of the demon world. In episode 8, Goku managed to defeat Tamagami number 3, and Goku managed to defeat him not only with physical strength but also in the cup game, and with that Goku got the first Dragon Ball of the Makai world, now leaving only two spheres that are in the Makai world, number 1 and 2. Guys, it is obvious that Vegeta will arrive in time to help Goku defeat these last Tamagamis, who will certainly be much more powerful than Tamagami number 3. So the other two are more powerful, and I believe that the chances of Goku and Vegeta defeating them easily are very small or even non-existent, and to defeat them they will need a fusion or a new transformation. I think that by now most of you must have understood what I'm talking about, right? That's right, guys, I'm saying that Vegeta, the Prince of the Saiyans, and one of, if not the proudest character in Dragon Ball, has finally reached the power of Super Saiyan 3. Right now some of you might be laughing at something ridiculous that would never happen, but is this really impossible to happen? No guys, it is actually totally possible to happen, and there is a good chance that it will end up happening in future episodes of Dragon Ball Daima. With that in mind, you may be wondering how this could be possible, since Vegeta never used the Super Saiyan 3 transformation in Dragon Ball Super. Don't worry about that, because I'm going to explain how all this can happen and why Vegeta never demonstrated his ability to use Super Saiyan 3 at any other time in Dragon Ball Super. Well, there are several reasons why Vegeta never used this transformation in Dragon Ball Super, and one of them would be because of its disadvantage, which is the large amount of energy it consumes over time, which would be a very big disadvantage for Vegeta. And since Super Saiyan 2 consumes less energy and already gives a great increase in power, this was already enough for the Prince of the Saiyans, and that's why Vegeta ruled out the possibility of using Super Saiyan 3 in a battle. Besides, he also had God transformations, so it didn't make sense for Vegeta to use Super Saiyan 3 in Dragon Ball Super. Now the question is, how will Vegeta be able to transform into Super Saiyan 3 in Dragon Ball Daima for the first time? The answer is simple, and in fact we have already seen this method being used by Vegeta, and the way he would achieve this new transformation would be through a Majin Mark, just like in the Buu saga, where he received the Majin Mark from Babidi, which increased his power so much that Vegeta was able to transform into a Super Saiyan 2. I am sure there are two options for this to happen, the first being that that Vegeta would be controlled by someone like Dr. Arinsu, who would try to use the same magic that Babidi used to increase Vegeta's power and still give him a power boost, while the second option would be that somehow a remnant of the old Majin mark that still exists inside Vegeta would be activated by a strong desire for power on the part of the Prince of the Saiyans, and since this was Vegeta's initial desire at the time Babidi controlled him, the Majin mark would be activated and Vegeta would transform into a Super Saiyan 3, and thus he would be able to transform into this form for the first time. I gave two options for this theory to become reality, and I believe it will become real because we, the fans of this incredible story that has been around for years, have always wanted to see what Vegeta would be like using Super Saiyan 3, which may or may not be like Goku's, since there is a great possibility that Vegeta's Super Saiyan 3 is a different version compared to Goku and Gotenks, who are the only ones who up until now have the ability to access this transformation in an easier way, with the main user of this transformation being Gotenks, since Goku has better and more powerful transformations that take less energy to keep activated. This different appearance could be generated because of the Majin mark that Vegeta would have, and the demonic energy of the mark would make the transformation different from that of his rival, and it could even be cooler than the original. This could be an old transformation but renewed and remodeled thanks to the demonic energy. Maybe Vegeta himself ends up becoming a demon while he has the mark, which would change the appearance of his transformation, and it could even be stronger than Goku's, who could also end up using the power of his strongest transformation to fight or give a final blow and see the two rivals using a final attack with these transformations. That would be epic. There is also the possibility that Vegeta would not be able to transform without the power of the Majin mark, something that would make sense for Vegeta to have never used it in Dragon Ball Super, and maybe Vegeta himself doesn't even care about it since, as said before, Super Saiyan 2 is better if we compare these two transformations. But now I want to know from you, do you want to see Vegeta using Super Saiyan 3 for the first time in Dragon Ball Daima? Comment because I will be reading all the comments, and of course leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Bye.